I'd like to add my congratulations and welcome to all of you for seeing the value of the IPA's purpose, and that is adding value to your enterprises and your clients. So thank you for inviting me along to the National Congress, Jane. I'm sorry my brief last night was to be witty, charming and humorous. I've been told this morning to be profound, insightful and statesmanlike, so I will leave some of the humour behind, but we can compare notes later. I do also want to say ni hao ma to our guests from China. How about we welcome our delegation from China here today? Good to see you. It's great to see you, and President Warren, it's great to be amongst an international leader. Thank you. I know you do that role for the glamour, but congratulations, and welcome to each and every one of you. Prime Minister Abbott was hopeful of being with us this morning. He is not able to be here. He is at a round table discussing the implementation of the carbon tax. I'm actually supposed to be there as well with him, but I did point out I can't be in two places at once. His advice was, well, you should honour your commitments. That's what good governments do. And of course, as a loyal cabinet minister, my answer was yes, Prime Minister. So I am here this morning, and it's great to be here. And congratulations on your 90th birthday. In terms of transformation of the national image and brand, I think the IPA is just slightly but catching up on the influence Vegemite has had. Interesting story though, those creators of Vegemite, they came up with this product and not even their own salespeople liked it. And they were invited to give a product quality assessment, and it went something like, this is really yuck. Now, the inventors thought, look, we haven't peaked early. There is some product development opportunity, and to their great credit, they persevered. What a great story of enterprising Australians persevering and creating an international brand, one that no one is indifferent about, but it leaves its mark. The IPA, though, valued and virtuous in everybody's eyes, Andrew, so congratulations. With 25,000 members, you have much to be proud of. Your global reach is impressive, and the advice that you provide to your clients is valued and respected. I've seen, let's call it appreciation research that kind of suggested you guys are far more important than we politicians and far more trusted. But to your great credit, your profession in Australia is trusted even more highly than in other international environments. You are the go-to people for so many enterprising Australians. They trust you, they seek your advice and wise counsel. They just don't want to talk to you solely about balance day adjustments and tax measures that are all a fog for many. They actually want your wisdom to steer their business, to help them make more informed decisions. You are very much an ally and a strong partner with your clients, and I think that's reflected in the appreciation and the respect within which you're held. You have such a wide-ranging, high-profile audience here today, which also says a lot about the quality of the IPA, and again, I congratulate you and the board and all those involved. Thank you for having me here. I'm here because I'm always available for Andrew. And I've spoken with you, I think, over the last 4 or 5 years. It's an interesting opportunity that we are all within reach of. That is a chance to really create a renaissance in enterprise in our country. I see that not only as something that's incredibly national and in its purpose and in its need, but it's incredibly crucial for our communities across the continent. Many of you would know I represent a wonderful, great Southern Hemisphere city, one that's internationally recognised and respected, and that's not Santiago, not Buenos Aires, but Frankston in Victoria. Isn't that good? No one laughed at that line. You too must appreciate its Riviera qualities. But the community that I represent is some 40 to 60 kilometres out of the capital city of Melbourne. If it wasn't for family enterprises and small businesses, we wouldn't have an economy. Livelihoods not only of those that are risking their houses and their sanity in being in small business, but all those that rely on that courage for employment and livelihoods. This underlines why small business and family enterprise is so important. And it also reminds us that as the mining boom shifts into another gear, not in a construction phase, but in a production phase, we need to imagine what our economy looks like into the future. It would be a shame, and we deserve ridicule if, when we think about the post-mining economy in Australia, we lose the momentum that only small business and family enterprises can provide. That innovation, that nimbleness, that creativity, the driver of productivity, value and prosperity that is the engine room of our economy, has been sadly quite neglected in recent years. And we want to change that. We want to change that not only because it's necessary, but it is the right thing to do. And in a sense, I am here as an ally and advocate and partner with you in that effort. Because together, we've got a lot of work to do. We've got an awful lot of work to do to show young people who are wondering about what they want to do with their lives that being self-employed and running your own business is a wonderful application of their talents. That it's something they should aspire for. That it's something that's valued and respected in our country. Not something that's pushed to one side as if it doesn't matter. That has to stop. We need to celebrate enterprising people. We need to respect and support small businessmen and women that take risks and show great courage to create opportunities for themselves and others in their communities. This is a transformation we all need to be a part of. And it can't come too soon. Over the last 6 years, 412,000 Australians have lost employment opportunities in small business. 412,000. That's 4 times a Melbourne Cup crowd at Flemington. Think of that stadium at the MCG. 4 of those full houses now no longer derive a livelihood out of small business compared to where they were when the Howard government left office. This is despite trend or near-trend economic growth, continuing strong population growth, the economy that's grown 17-18% over that period, yet we've seen a contraction in employment in small business. In 2007, 53% of everyone in a private sector job could thank a small business person for that opportunity. Today, it's 43%. There are 3,000 fewer employing small businesses today than was the case 6 years ago. Business formation has contracted. The sense of optimism and opportunity, the strength of the headwinds that small business people share with me every day, the strength of that is stronger and more challenging in making the environment less inviting for their enterprise and entrepreneurship. And sensible people respond to those pressures. We hear too many people saying it's just too hard. It's just too hard. Well, we need to change that. We need to turn that around. We need to say that this investment of their skill and their resources, the particular beauty that my wife and I enjoyed of pillow talk about cash flow. Yeah, I've lived the small business dream. We mortgaged our house and our firstborn. We toiled, but we did not succeed. I do not stand before you as the world's greatest small business person. I didn't make it. I failed. And to this day, half of my behemoth mortgage is a monument to my enterprise. But I still remember to this day the $4,667 rent we paid every month in a highly discretionary area of retailing when it was raining in Melbourne and the sleet was coming in sideways down the main street of Mornington, where the only upside was the natural exfoliation you got on your skin. We knew we'd have more red ink that month. And we did. And we persevered. We innovated. We tried everything. But we didn't succeed. We went to the bank and said, look, here's a business plan. You know, I'm a master's in business leadership. I understand about business plans and the mystery of your credit metrics, and you want to see all of this, and here it is. Here's the team. Here's the experience. Here are our channels to market. Here are our valued artisans and craftspeople who relied on our business to be their channel to the marketplace. Here is our plan. And they said, Bruce, love it, but don't tell us it's for small business because it'll cost you more. We have to look at it in a different light. I'm saying, well, hang on. Same borrowers, you're still wanting my house, same amount of money, same security, same banking institution. Oh, yeah, but don't tell us it's for small business. You know, those prudential rules mean it's more expensive, and the capital we have to park and the cash requirements and liquidity we need to cover a small business loan is so much more than a housing loan. Let's just say it's a housing loan. Even better, let's say it's for personal purposes. And I thought, yeah, it is personal. It was in our mind every moment. Every waking moment, we were thinking about what we could do next. And when we finally said, this is not working, It was a moment of great, profound personal failure and disappointment, not only for us, but for our crew and those that relied upon us. I bring that weathering of living the dream of small business and enterprise to the task that I have now. And that is to turn that around so that there is a more supportive environment for enterprising people, not to guarantee their success, but to give them every encouragement to have a go and every prospect that through their enterprise and endeavours, they will succeed. Government should do no harm. They shouldn't make it harder. My ambition is to be an ally and an advocate, not a sense of a silent adversary that makes those scarce private times intruded more upon by more regulation and more obstacles. And I don't just come to this task as a weathered exponent who hasn't been successful. Some 4 years I've been the shadow minister. We've seen 6 former small business ministers under the Labor government come and go in a revolving door that said much, and you could wonder what it said, but it certainly didn't say this mattered. Small business tacked on to a long list of other responsibilities. The one that I thought was most insightful but unintended was when it was housing, homelessness and small business. I could see signs of a cycle there. That wasn't the idea, they just needed to find somewhere to hang the shingle. We've changed that. Small business is in cabinet. My sole and overwhelming priority is to support small business. My brief from the Prime Minister is to go wherever I need to go, a hunting licence to find where those stiff headwinds are or those obstacles, those points of resistance that serve no good purpose, and to seek to remove those so that at least the wind, if it is there, is either neutral or at the small business community's back. You all have a crucial role in that, and I invite you to grab that role with both hands, to share with me your insights, the field evidence that you see every day, the examples of things that are sucking entrepreneurship and optimism out of those courageous small businessmen and women. We've done that for years, the IPA and myself. You know, some people just realised recently there was 96 uninstituted tax and superannuation measures. Well, Tony Greco from amongst you told me that years ago. Gave me a number count. It was an interesting kind of romance. I'd see him and say, Tony, how are you going? It's 87 now, Bruce. When Tony's excited, you've got to pay attention. But even with that number, you would have seen we've decisively announced what we plan to do to just clear the fog, provide some stability, some predictability, some certainty, to turn around that decline that I touched on earlier. These compliance costs are extraordinary for a small business. The disproportionate investment of time and money that a small enterprise commits by obligation to tax burdens compared to bigger enterprises, it's completely out of whack. 96% of every business in this continent is a small business, yet you wouldn't know that from the policy formulation and regulation process. It seems to be a great moment where big business, big unions and big governments talk to each other about what makes sense for them, not realising that for a small business, they are the lawyer, they are the accountant, they are the marketing department, they are the human resource manager, they are the safety officer, the occupational health expert, the counsellor, the supervisor, the business strategist, and just thinking, where do you add one more thing? Well, you do that on Sunday. We can do better than that, and we must. How many small business owners can commit that amount of compliance effort when we'd really like them to be growing their business and benefiting from the wisdom and wise counsel that you provide? We want families to know they're supported. You know, small business puts marriages under pressure. It puts enterprise under duress, because too much is being asked of our small businesses without understanding the human aspect and the demands that a small enterprise face. That's why we need to change that. That's why we took to the election not only a clear plan of more than 20 separate measures, none of which singularly will change the world, but combined represent a microeconomic reform to put the business back into small business. That's my duty, is to implement that plan. That's what the Prime Minister's Charter letter says, and to go hard where there are problems and obstacles that serve no good purpose for small business and are undermining prosperity, opportunity and entrepreneurship in our country. Our ambition is bolder than that, no, a renaissance in small business, in enterprise, to show it's valued and supported and respected, a crucial part of our community, a more supportive enterprise ecosystem where the environment and the landscape within which small businesses operate is one that is supportive of their endeavours. And we'll know we work that well when the next generation at a debutante ball don't talk about being the next Sonny Bill Williams. They talk about being the next Reckon, or the next product development or innovator at MyOb. And I'm quickly thinking about all the other sponsors because I was told if I mention them, that'd be really good. Andrew's doing sign language saying, don't forget NAB. Am I right, Andrew? Any others that I should mention? Okay, thank you, sir. So this is where we have a lot of work to do. Getting that environment right, our multi-layered, multi-pronged plan to support small business, to remove those obstacles that are in small business people's paths, and to not see enterprise and wealth creation put in the too hard basket, not only for those of this generation, but the generation to come. Andrew talked about the Productivity Commission report on the regulator engagement with small business. Have a read of it if you're having trouble sleeping. It's tough reading, but it makes some sound points. That it's not just the rules, but it's the way they're implemented. It's not just the burden, it's whether someone's there to help or punish people that can't fulfil its demands. It talks about how red tape can distract and subtract from productivity and living standards, income potentials, quality of life and our future prospects. It talks about how gumming up the economy with excessive red tape and green tape impedes boosting our productivity. We need to get that burden off so that all of us are better off as a nation. That's why we've committed to pulling $1 billion worth of red and green tape out of the economy. We've talked before about some of those specific measures. Why does a small business need to be a pay clerk for the paid parental leave scheme? Why do they need to adapt their softwares? This is where I mentioned Reckon as well. Why do they need to adapt their financial and human resource and payroll systems to mimic a payment so it looks like income when it's actually a government payment, and if you get it wrong, there's an enormous fine? This isn't helpful. We've identified that superannuation contributions should go to the tax office with PAYG and let them spray it out everywhere. They've got the tools, they've got the machinery, they've got the follow-up capability. This is about sensible, pragmatic steps. $1 billion of red tape we will pull out of the economy. Our senior public servants' incentives and bonuses will be linked to that objective. Every department has a dereg team in it. The Prime Minister is driving this because we know from experience if it's not led from the top and persistently pursued, it won't happen. We've had some chats with our regulators. You might have seen a little bit of that. The poor independent contractors. The jihad's got to stop on independent contractors. It's a legitimate form of enterprise. Go hard on those that are gaming the system, but support those that are doing the right thing. Apply the law. Respect that self-employment vehicle as a valued contribution for over 1 million people making their bit towards the economic growth of the economy. Make the rules work. Have the table on the front of the website reflect the law. We've now, under the previous government, bolted the need for an ABN into getting a business name, and if you can't get a business name, you can't engage in commerce, so getting an ABN becomes a really fundamental issue. Yet if that's denied someone on a hunch, where do they go? The hairdresser in my electorate that got a demand for an amended tax assessment, pay us $13,000 because we think you should be more profitable. I was happy to point out to Commissioner Jordan that in my community, people will only pay so much to have their hair coloured. Do you know? And if it gets too expensive, they'll buy it at a supermarket and have a crack themselves. This is life. Yet the algorithm said, oh no, they'll just keep paying. We know your costs are coming up, but your income's not. You must be trousering cash. And this lady's in tears in my office saying, I'm not trousering to cash. You've been out to check my cash receipting. But you want me to find $13,000 I don't have just to contest a conclusion you've arrived at by a set of metrics that are designed to identify aberrations, not be the final word. And this is where we need this small business perspective and awareness inculcated in the conduct of our regulators. I had a chat with ASIC the other day. That was fun. I pointed out the problems with the business names register that I'd pointed out to them 3 years ago. I said, Minister, I don't think we can fix that. I go, I reckon you can. And I'll give you a ministerial business strategy. How hard can this be? It got fixed. Home-based businesses now don't need to have their privacy violated. They can go through the normal registration of a place for delivery of notices and not tell the world where they live. There are other examples. What I'm trying to leave you with is not only the urgency of this, but the sense that we have a clear plan. Get rid of the carbon tax. No one's been punished more than that, than small business. Told to either suck it up or pass on the costs. Many aren't able to do either. That's got to go. Changes in the mining tax, the abolition of this dopey middle-of-the-night idea to change the way novated leases are taxed. Dealing with this backlog of unenacted laws. Dealing with the regulatory burden. Making sure small business interests are front of mind every day in the economic policy engine room of the Commonwealth, and that's Treasury. Not dagged off the industry portfolio where they're going, hang on, could you think about our interests? But inculcated into those deliberations every day. A minister in cabinet to push the agenda, to highlight the concerns, to describe the impact of ideas that might seem great in a bureaucratic sense in Canberra, but might spell challenge, cost and impediment to small business. To implement a sensible approach to FOFA. To make sure that paid parental leave isn't an administrative burden, but is available to put a small employer on the same ability to attract playing field as the private sector, big employers and the public service. To deal with our competition laws. To recognise it was some 22 years ago the legal framework that our economy operates within was conceived by Professor Hilmer, yet the economy has changed remarkably. Laws that were thought to do certain things haven't performed the way they were supposed to. Section 46, misuse of market power, is supposed to be so omnipotent that any bit of mischief that a big business could inflict on a small business would be dealt with, yet we found that provision is a hunting dog that won't leave the porch. Looks good, not effective. Make sure that efficient businesses, big and small, have the opportunity to prosper and profit. Not see a small business, no matter how efficient, feeling like it is the modern day serfdom to be a supplier to a big business. Or to see market dominance permeate its way into other markets, sweeping away the competition that keeps innovation and price pressure in the economy, sweeping that away to leave us with what in the longer term? To introduce unfair contract terms protections for small business, where there's an incredible imbalance in market power, where take it or leave it contracts can simply be used by the big guy to say to the little guy, this is it, baby. Yeah, I know it protects all of my interests, and I know you carry all of the risk now. And I know it basically says you've contracted away any opportunity to make your own economic decisions, but here it is. I had no power over big telcos when I was getting services for our business. As a consumer, if there were unfair contract terms, I had a remedy available. As a small business, I didn't. Yet I had no more market power to influence it. Having small business represented on key economic bodies, on the ACCC, in Fair Work, on the Board of Taxation, so that situational awareness is a part of everyday operations and in the conduct of governance in this country that is supportive and welcoming and respectful and encouraging of small business and enterprise. That's the renaissance we need in our country. You are the trusted advisors and the people that small business turn to. I want to make sure you've got the tools you need to be all the help that they're looking for and then some. And maybe there'll be more small businesses. That's what we want. Employing more Australians and adding more to our economy because of our shared enterprise to respect and support their enterprise. Have a great Congress. Thank you for having me.